All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Muskegon Rotary Club. According to the agenda, I am President-elect Roger Morgenstern, standing in for President Dave, who was out of town today. Today's program will be the Shoreline Trails and Greenway Plan. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and have a reflection from Darlene Coe. We will recite the four-way test at the end of the meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Darlene?
May I put this down?
You may put that down, yes.
As you all know, we are finally beginning to see autumn. And on that behalf, I'm sharing with you a poem I found that I think speaks to the season. It's called The Autumn Sound. The chorus of autumn sings so sweet. In rustling leaves there lies a beat. Nature's rhythm in harmony flows, a melody woven throughout the autumnal shows. From dawn till dusk, the echoes play, in every heart they find their way. Each note a whisper, a gentle plea, for us to listen, to feel, and be free.
Great. Thank you, Darlene. Appreciate that. I just know it's time to rake leaves. If you would like to take your seats and continue your lunch, network and mingle, we will be back shortly. Thank you. Welcome back to the show, everybody. If we can have our visiting Rotarians and guests please come up. Over here to my right, Rem Sprague is our theatrical stage manager today. And while we're doing that, if Mr. Vogus would like to play something, because you know every time I get up here I got to talk about Harvest Fest. So guess what? We had a great Harvest Fest last week. Thank you to everyone who attended. We're still figuring out the numbers. Kim and I are taking off our socks to count on our fingers and toes, but the numbers are looking good. Okay, the accountant doesn't do that, but I do because I failed math. So anyway, we're still getting the numbers together, but it looks really great. It's going to benefit our foundation, which benefits our community. So, Mr. Vogus, without further ado. Thank you, Mike, for putting that together. Thank you, Wyatt, for all your for photos. They're awesome. You'll see more in the rim next week. It was a great night. And I got another shirt in my Harvest Fest collection, so I'm pretty excited about that. So, guests, past President Arter.
Hello, I'm Tim Arter. I have as my guest Kim Arter. Yes, it's a common last name. She's my sister-in-law, also the Laketon Township supervisor. And she's worked a lot on the trails and green spaces along with the Muskegon watershed. So I thought she'd be interested in hear this program.
Hello, Melissa Horton again with the Lakeshore Museum Center, and I have Morgan Whitmer, who is our Development and Admin Coordinator, and she is going to be joining hopefully January. So we'll be welcoming her.
Here, I'll introduce them. I can do this. Hey, for another week, I'm a board member of Windsor Deck. This is Joel Fitzpatrick from Whimsidick. He was instrumental in helping getting this Trails and Greenway plan together, and is a guest here of Aaron Kuhn, who is very busy doing things at Whimsidick. So welcome, Joel.
Nancy McCarthy here. I have with me today my husband, Ed Hunt, former Rotarian and former banker.
Hello, Camille Jordan Mark, and my guest today is Jennifer Bruin. She is the new Director of Business Development at the Boys and Girls Club of the Muskegon Lakeshore, and she will be joining us as a new member soon, we hope.
Hi everybody, Sarah Rinsma-Siebinga here, and my guest today is Zoe Lebrenz. Zuri Lebrenz. I got to go to Honduras with her a couple of years ago, which was fun, and she is like a paycheck away from joining Rotary officially.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emma Peterson with Trinity Health. I have with me Susan Howell Stuck today. She just joined our team about 3 weeks ago as our new grants manager. She has a long career history in the social services arena, and we are thrilled to have her on our philanthropy team.
Good afternoon, Rotary. Marty Seitzma here with our student guests from Fruitport High School. To introduce two of the seniors is Jason Kennedy. He is the superintendent at Fruitport.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. A couple of words about the things that are happening in Fruitport. Simply want to share with you that we are working hard to build systems that support high-quality teaching and learning. And just yesterday, a proud moment for us. Two of our elementary schools were ranked number 1 and number 2 by U.S. News and World Report as the best elementary schools in the county. And it speaks to the work that is happening with our staff to support awesome students like the two that are here today. And so I'm pleased to share with you Abby and Braden, and I will let them introduce themselves and share with you their plans.
Hi everyone, I'm Abby Lepre from Fruitport High School. I'm a senior. I'm involved in student council as the president and DECA as vice president as well. I'm also involved in cheer. I plan to major in psychology and be a child psychologist, hopefully. I'm undecided as to where I'm going to college, but I have applied to Grand Valley, St. Mary's, Michigan State, and Northwood.
Hello, my name is Brandon Leslie, and I'm a senior at Fruitport High School. I plan to major in cybersecurity and minor in German at Michigan Tech. And I'm also involved in Be Nice Advisory Committee, secretary for student council, NHS secretary. I'm also on the Quiz Bowl team, esports, and I think that's about it.
Welcome to all our guests. Well, President Dave likes to do his Muskegon Minute because he, like I, are kind of bummed we don't have much of a newspaper in town anymore. Fun fact, 36 years ago, I was a cub reporter for the Muskegon Chronicle. I worked for Dave Alexander, and I can attest to you, he was as bald then as he is now. I think he's watching on Zoom, but it was the hair that he had was a lot darker. So was mine. Anyway, so here's our Muskegon Minute. The last time we all talked about high school football was the opening night of the 2025 season. Sadly, every Muskegon County team lost its first game, except Oak Ridge, who beat OV. Someone had to win. Well, going into the first week of the playoffs, many of the Muskegon County teams got with their winning ways. Muskegon County has 7 teams in the first round of the high school football playoffs. On Friday evening, the games are Howard City, Tri-County at Whitehall, Oak Ridge at Grand Rapids West Catholic, Montague at Central Montcalm, and the big rematch, my alma mater, Mona Shore Sailors, At Muskegon. Yeah. My mother went to Muskegon, so go Big Reds. She used to say, oh, I went to school with them. I said, did you graduate with like 5,000 people? I think she did. On Saturday afternoon, there is Ravanna at Pewamo, Westphalia, and Saranac at North Muskegon. So get out and cheer on our teams. Rob Taylor will introduce our program. Rob, I should have biked today, but I had, fancy clothes on, so I took the SUV. So I know.
Well, I'm really nervous about this because it's like I've been in a dream, and the dream's coming true with today's program. And the longer version of the title, instead of Shoreline Trails and Greenways, it's Maximizing Trail Connections for Community Growth and Generational Impact. And so this presentation explores aspects of the West Michigan Shoreline Trails and Greenways planning process for trail development, management, and community benefit. Discover how multimodal connections can create healthier, more equitable communities while gaining a better understanding of the intersectionality between infrastructure and neighborhood transformation. Now, those aren't my words. They're awfully big ones. But before I introduce today's speakers, I want to first recognize some of the people who made this possible, and I have an invitation for you. So after realizing that a comprehensive plan was needed, this process was advocated by the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, and we have a number of our board members here today, and if they'd please stand, they'd be recognized. Ray McLeod, Melanie Mead, Aaron Bob Mass, Priscilla Taylor, Rory Tebow, and Ron Sussex. And it's been supported by funding from the City of Muskegon, and thank you, Mayor Johnson, and Wimser Dick. Thank you, Joel. I didn't realize you were going to be here. Muskegon County, Norton Shores, and the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. And with those funds, we hired the Progressive Company, who you'll hear from shortly. To help us move forward to realize this plan, I invite you to join us as we study the Walkable City Rules book by Jeff Speck, the brother of Muskegon's Scott Speck, our symphony orchestra music director. We will be hosting a book study the first Monday of the month, starting Monday, November 3rd, that's this coming Monday, at 6:30 p.m. at Pigeon Hills Brewers Lounge. You're welcome to join us at any time in the coming months as we learn how to make this wonderful community an even better and safer place to live. Now, to introduce today's speakers, I'd like to introduce Letitia Lipscomb. Letitia Lipscomb is a seasoned community engagement leader dedicated to equitable urban development. As Director of Engagement and Relationships at Amplified GR, she led housing, economic opportunity, and wellness initiatives across Southeast Grand Rapids, co-creating inclusive strategies like the Boston Square. Together, a community partnership agreement, known for her deep-rooted relationships and commitment to community-driven planning, Letitia has also served the city of Grand Rapids and sits on multiple local boards, championing authentic people-first development. And we also have Carrie Rivet, who began her love for the outdoors early and spent all of her first time in the woods or in the water. She received a BS in environmental engineering from Michigan Tech University. Go Huskies! and Carrie has over 30 years of experience primarily in water resources. She spent 12 years with the city of Grand Rapids as stormwater manager, where she worked on creating and implementing their Vital Streets plan. This combination of complete streets and green infrastructure was a perfect way to indulge her passions for biking and water. She currently has the pleasure of working with water resources, non-motorized trails, and forestry. In her free time, she loves biking, running, and all things water, except swimming in a straight line. I want to thank Letitia and Carrie and their team, as well as the Wimser Windsor Dick staff, especially Joel Fitzpatrick, who is the project manager for this endeavor, and Rotary's Aaron Kuhn, the executive director of Windsor Dick. Now let's roll on.
Good afternoon. Oh my God, come on, Muskegon Rotary, you can do better than that. Good afternoon. I am Letitia Lipscomb, as was mentioned. I am super excited about being here. And that's for a number of reasons. I will say about 9 months ago, we were at Rotary at a different hotel. Is everything okay, Mike? Yeah. Okay. I have to give him instruction. Okay, sorry. So, like I was saying, really excited about being here for this presentation because when we were here last time, we were introducing it, and who would have thought October 30th would be here so soon? So with that being said, I am going to ask Mike if you could introduce our slideshow. We've prepared a presentation for you that really gives you an inside look into what we accomplished as a family over the course of the last couple of months. And so we're going to spend about 20 minutes, you can start that timer now, talking about West Michigan Forward Together for more equitable outcomes. And so what is the Shoreline Trails and Greenway planning process? What is that project? And I'm going to read it because I really want to make sure you guys understand what we were endeavoring to do. STAG is, in fact, a trails plan that we have completed to make multi-user trail connections along the shoreline. This has been a project to map out ways to connect existing regional paths and also more local access options to get to both scenic places like waterways, parks, and greenways that we all love and enjoy, and everyday places for practical everyday people like stores, banks, and work. This has all been about improving connections, connecting people, connecting places, and connecting lived experiences. We made sure that we were able to go around the entire shoreline, understanding people's voices. Their voices were needed to show where they wanted to walk, where they wanted to roll, and where they wanted to just kind of find respite in their own neck of the woods. The feedback and the input that we received over time was really important to help us guide the Trails and Greenways project and to really define for the green tops decision makers or grass tops decision makers what it would actually look like. So we spent a lot of time in a project area of grassroots intentionality in the city of Muskegon, the city of actually Muskegon County, as well as northwestern Ottawa County. And let me tell you, all of these places and spaces had different names, personalities, and characteristics, and that was one of my most favorite parts of doing engagement for this project. As was mentioned before, we had the honor and privilege of working with some phenomenal community stakeholders. Our friends and family at Windsor Dick has been absolutely phenomenal, as well as the city of Muskegon. Thank you so much, Mayor, for showing up and supporting us along almost every part of the process. We appreciate you. The Michigan Department of Transportation, Muskegon County, the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, that was one of my favorite work groups, and then as well as Laketon Township, Muskegon Heights, and Ottawa County. Those are some of the community stakeholders that played a vital role in creating this plan that you're going to learn more about today. So where have we been? Where are we going? Like I said, we started this process in the winter of 2025, and we are basically really excited about what's to come in the future. You're going to hear more about some of those community engagement events that we were able to do all over the entire shoreline, kind of collecting that vision. You'll note on screen that there's also a projected future timeline that we'll talk about a little bit more in the future, but parties in the park, going into Muskegon Heights and visiting and fellowshipping with the people at Warm Meal Wednesdays gave us great insight into what is needed in order to push the community forward, as well as time at farmers markets and all of those different places and spaces. So Carrie's going to talk to you a little bit more about economic impact, and we are really working hard to fire through this presentation because we do have a number of slides. So at any point you have questions, comments, or concerns, we will have 5 minutes later to discuss those. Carrie?
Thank you. I'm Carrie Rivette and handle a lot of the logistics of the plans, making the connections. Many of you are business people here. I would say all of you are probably business people here, and you may be wondering, I don't bike. What does this impact me with? Well, there's so much more, bringing tourism to the area. We all know about tourism, how much money that brings. We've got some great trails here, amazing trails. We can get all the way to Grand Rapids from here. We can get up further than I can even think. I've gone as far as New Era from here. But we can't always get to the grocery store, to the hospital, to the places people work, to the places, the schools their kids need to go to. And not everybody has the reliable transportation that some of us do. So putting people into a mindset of making sure everybody can get there easily. If you don't have to have a car, you don't have to rely on public transportation. Your mental well-being's there. If you're getting there by yourself, walking, biking, you're physically and mentally better prepared when you get to work and you get to your employers. So we have all these things that'll attract employees better. And once they get to you, if they've been able to get there under their own power and they weren't worrying about, will the bus be late, will my car break down because I haven't been able to maintain it, they're going to be in a better place and be better workers for you. So we looked at all these different things. The vision's important for both counties. The vision tells us where we're going. We're so connected along this lakeshore. And we wanted to make sure people got to the places they need to be to sustain themselves, but also to the great resources we have here, to the parks, to the waterways. And we layered all of these things together in one plan so that we can build wealth, increase health, increase access to everywhere for everyone, and attract talent to this area so we can all be as good as we can working together. We took this trail and we had the engineer type people like me who gathered all the information that was out there, all the old plans, all the trails. A comprehensive map of this region and the smaller trails was not available. So we took everything we could find, put that all together, and then we moved on to taking that to our shareholders and them taking it back to some of theirs in the stakeholder groups so we could get the best map possible. So when we went out to the community, we could say, this is what we know we have. Where do you need to get to that you can't go? How do you want to see those paths built once you get there? What do you want to see on them? And we took all that, so we took what we had logistically, and then we added the community engagement and what people wanted to see. There we go. And so we had all these focus groups and community events, and now it's going everywhere. Because this is my life. So we had all these groups that Letitia was talking about. Now I won't go back. Yeah, because it's going to skip several now. We had all these groups that Letitia was talking about. We combined that with our basic information, and then we headed out into the community. Keep going back. Further back. Two more. One more. Still back. No, I think you're going the wrong. Okay, one more back. Okay? Thank you for showing it's not just me. So Letitia's going to tell you about what we did when we went out to the community.
And we're going to give that poor screen an opportunity to catch up. I said we were going to go fast. I didn't mean that fast. All right, so what we learned from community, my favorite part. So I can tell you that there was both qualitative and quantitative data that came out of us being so persistent about going into community. We were really intentional about making sure that we were hearing from people that maybe hadn't really used the parks or the trail systems before. Also making sure that people who just don't even understand what access could mean for them in terms of their lived experiences, which is why we were very intentional about going into Muskegon Heights as many times as possible. We hosted focus groups very intentionally in urbanized areas. I mentioned earlier Warm Meal Wednesdays because we really wanted to understand what people's thoughts and emotions were around some of these different things that they have and that they do not have access to in order to improve their overall quality of life. One of the things I'll mention that really stood out to me when we started discovering about like economic impact is how many opportunities there are for budding entrepreneurs in Muskegon to create businesses along these trails and these different pathways. We talked a lot about food trucks. We talked about opportunities for respite and rest and areas for children to play. Wildflowers came up so many times. I also was able to discover that Muskegon currently does not even have a bicycle shop. So sometimes when you give people the appropriate amount of funding and the opportunity and platform to come up with creative ideas to solve their issues in community, there's no telling what will come out of it. So we talked about like pop-up shops and what it would mean to have some of these repair stations available for people that are using the trails. But we didn't just stop there. We went regionally and we had really good conversation with people in Whitehall, Grand Haven, so many different areas to learn what their experiences were. And what we found is that at the end of the day, what's from the heart always reaches the heart. And at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We all want access to the same things. And we all want to be able to experience the outdoors in the same way together. So I will just point out some of the words that kept coming up in the ways that we were kind of surveying people and interviewing people and having these conversations with people while we were breaking bread. We heard a lot of feedback around just how beautiful Muskegon already is, all of your natural resources, the things that you already offer for people to kind of increase their lived experiences, and then also what opportunities exist for us to improve upon some of that. One of my favorite activities was we offered people an opportunity to draw out or sketch and then communicate what the future looks like for them. So some of these images are directly from the people and what they drew. And so increased lighting was really important because there are a lot of safety concerns when people are biking, walking, running along the trails alone at night. They want a place that has increased vibrancy and beauty, which is why we talked a lot about what does it mean to incorporate artwork along some of the trails and paths? What does it mean to increase bike lanes, to add those water features, as well as flowers, trees, and shrubs? So lots of infrastructural changes, but also like the simple things that can just make a person feel a greater sense of belonging. We did a comprehensive SWOT analysis. How many of you have ever heard of a SWOT analysis? Great, awesome. Really, it's just an opportunity for you to pool community and talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the challenges that exist in an environment. And it was a little bit different depending on what environment we were in, but at the end of the day, we all came down to the same thing, and that is that the people really wanted this plan to be about greater connections and increasing some of those challenges that they currently experience. So the plan will outline for you some of of those challenges, but also, and some of those weaknesses, but also some of the things that make this community strong and those opportunities to improve upon some of those things. I will also say we were very intentional about getting feedback from the community about areas of improvement, areas that they visit often, that they really enjoy. We asked the community to place a red dot where they were feeling unsafe about walking or riding a bike. And then we gave them an opportunity to place a yellow dot to really talk about those places where they want improved, and they want improved access to water, right? So there were a lot of people that, you know, do boating, fishing, all of those amazing water activities. So you can see there kind of how some people voted in terms of the blue, the red, and the yellow dots. We also were very sure at every instance to provide sticky notes, because we don't know everything, and we always wanted to position ourselves to come from a place of learning. So if there was anything we forgot to mention, anything we didn't think of that community wanted to offer up, those sticky notes were reflected, and that's also reflected in the final plan. So again, what we've heard so far, you guys can kind of see, I won't read through everything for you, but what's working well, we talked to them about what needs improvement, opportunities for the future, right? And there was a huge emphasis on connectivity and access, as I've stated before. And they also want to improve navigation and usability. I can't tell you how many times signage came up, right? Or safety buttons along the trail so that you can get help if you're ever in a situation where you need it. Some of the challenges though, right? Like this wasn't all beans and gravy. There were definitely some times where people were like, but how? How do we get here? How do we make this happen? Where do we find the money to implement these improvements that this community desperately needs? So equity and access came up quite a bit. One of my favorite activities too was the opportunity. How many? 2.5. Oh, for the whole thing? Oh, okay. I have 2.5 minutes left, and we haven't gotten to the most important part. The clock wasn't really moving. No fair. Okay, so then you guys will have to read through that. So sorry. Demographic data. Carrie's gonna fire through some of that. I'm so sorry.
Fire through quickly, she will. So, you know, we looked at your basics, your population changes, your different demographics for age, especially who can drive, who can't drive, looking at cars, vehicle access, to figure out who really needs these connections. And I don't think some of those will surprise you, that these are, when we combine all that data, the key points that we were looking at. And here's also the job centers and amenities, those places we need to connect with that we had mapped out. Really interesting, can't spend too much time on it, but median income is $70,000 in Muskegon and Ottawa County, $16,000 a year for a car, maintenance, insurance, and gas, and all that you need. That's a huge chunk of your income if you have two. If we can relieve that stress by giving people a place where they don't need to have two cars, maybe not even one car, if we can get to everywhere we need to go. Then the real big key is, how do we prioritize all this? We looked at safety, connectivity, who needs the connections? As we found out, Muskegon Heights doesn't have any connections. That might say why they're in the places they are and why they have a hard time. So let's get this all prioritized. We went to the community with that, and then we came up with a matrix scoring to make sure equity and connectivity were some of our biggest. Efficiency is, how easy is it to connect to this? If we can do this really quickly and easily, let's get it done. And just how accessible it is. We prioritized all these on the map. We'll have a QR code, but it's hosted on the Wimserdick website. If you just do the initials Wimserdick and Stag, you will find it. I recommend going through it. Water access these are some of the places where we added water access, not counting we have a new trail that will connect this trail that will get you to the water. Looked at several funding things that are broken down in the report. One of the big easy hits is, does somebody have a capital improvement plan that's along this route already? Can we just change the construction a bit and get it done easily? Measures of success. this is all pointless if we don't pay attention to where we're going. One of the big keys too is we don't want to see green gentrification. We want to see improved health, improved economy. We don't want to push people out of their homes because now things have gotten better in their neighborhoods. And that matrix on the right is the very complex way that you can kind of go about making sure you don't do that.
All right, so real quick, what can we build together? This is the fastest we've ever had to talk. But that's all right. All right, Broadway Avenue Greenway. This is what it looks like now, currently, folks. If we all put our pennies in the same bucket and our passions in the same place, this is what potentially the future could look like. Imagine a world where there's better connectivity, it's vibrant, it's bright, and people feel a greater sense of belonging. In addition to that, Moses Jones, something comes up very frequently. You all are familiar with it and some of the hardships there. Imagine a place where children can play, families can find respite, breathe in some good green air, and really enjoy that new, improved environment. The Shoreline Drive, this is how it exists currently, and this is how your community said they would like to see it in the future. Imagine that, a skywalk to carry you safely through, across wherever you're trying to go to your next destination. And last but certainly not least, that Ambrosia Cut. We envision and we heard vibrantly from community that they prefer something more like this. So thank you very much for all of your time and your attention. Sorry that we had to fire through it, but please imagine with us and the community that you all represent what the future could be.
We've got a couple minutes for questions. If anybody has a question, Rem's got the mic.
Hi, question. I don't know if you all involved the Muscatawa Trail in their conversations. Is that a yes or no?
We invited the DNR person who takes care of that. We were never able to get her to connect to our events, but the Bicycling Coalition is very connected to them. So this will be, but connecting to the Muscatawa Trail, that was one of my goals to get to it from my home because that's one of my favorite places to bike. So it's in the plan, and they do have contacts with the people who run the trail.
Well, I was going to thank you, but Fruitport, where it is, and I've been running on it for like 15 years, and they've done a huge improvement there. Removed so many trees where a lot of criminal activity was happening, and it's the most safest place now. We just need lights for whoever is connected to the trail. We'd have no lights on Muscatawa Trail at 6:30 in the morning, so.
Thank you. Hi, thank you both for that presentation. That was great. I saw that you talked about sustainable funding sources, that was one of the things that you were looking for. Can you give us an idea of maybe a couple of the things that have been vetted in that arena?
Some of the ones that I know we're working on that we've had preliminary contact with, and I'm going to get it wrong, there is a Michigan Health Endowment that are very interested, especially with some of the connections to the underserved communities. And and backing up, that one is one of the key points of the plan, is making sure it was grant ready. It allowed everybody to say, this is something, this is what we prioritize, this is what we've looked through. So that's one of the big ones. There are MDOT grants out there, and we made specific notes. If you make a trail this way, it's not likely to get an MDOT grant, so this would have to be more improved for that trail. There are some private funds that have done some trails in the area that we list in the plan. So yeah, it's not continued funding, but how do we get these grants to get it done, and then working with the communities to be able to make sure they can maintain them when it's done.
All right, one more in the back.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation and the work that your organization does. Can you touch on how the trails are impacted in the winter season and maintenance or lack thereof, or funding that's needed, that sort of thing? Can you touch on that, please?
That one's a really hard one, because that's one really going to have to be community-centric of what the community wants, because some want it so you can walk through it easily. Some want to be able to use it more recreational so that you can ski on it or snowshoe on it as you're going through. So it's going to be community by community and kind of what they're connecting to. Because if you're, going to the hospital where we have all these workers, then obviously you want that clear so they can use their bikes in the winter, they can walk in the winter. If you're going, if it's connecting to a park, then yeah, maybe that's one we could leave for a ski trail. So that's going to have to be very specific to how it's done, and it's community-centric for what they can afford to maintain.
And I'll just underscore that real quick by saying it came up all the time. And we also had an opportunity to talk with community about more winter activation. So we talked about fat tire bikes. We talked about employment opportunities during the winter months, activation during the winter months. But we have to work together to find funding to make all of these dreams a reality. So that is part of the reason we're making this pitch for this presentation. We hope that you will like it, you will share it, you will support it, and be a part of the change you wish to see in this community.
Thank you very much. In addition to being your president-elect, I'm also on the RIM staff, so breaking news, we've got the link. It's going to be in next week's RIM. I just sent it to the editor. Yeah, so it's a great report. I'm wrapping up my time on the Norton Shores City Council, and I can say in 9 years on the council, I've never gotten more comments than I've gotten about our new trail our Lake Harbor Trail that we built in the city of Norton Shores. So it's so important to have opportunities like this for people. The speaker's honorarium this year will be a Muskegon Rotary Club donation for supplies and materials used by our club members and youth from our Interact clubs as they take service trips to El Salvador and Honduras. Mr. Vogus, the birthday slide, please. Here we are. We got a long list. Paul Christie, today, October 30th. Dion Semple, one of our new members, October 31st. Tim Vanderhaar, November 1st. Roger Spolman, November 3rd. Brandon Davis, November 3rd. Cece Riley, November 4th. Bill Erickson, November 5th. Richard Francisco, November 5th. As a reminder, you get to give us $10 on your birthday. What a deal. I tried to explain that to a non-Rotarian the other day, they just didn't get it. It's just the way it's always been. Please make your $10 birthday gift to the Caring Connections Fund by using the envelopes that are up here, or you can scan the QR code that is up here at the podium or in the rim. Now we have our spotlight video, Rotarian in Action. What? Oh, we have to sing. Darlene, is Annette here? All right, thank you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. I told Jenny Sprague that when I'm president, we're going to sing, but obviously when I'm president-elect, I forgot. So I was a member of the St. Paul's Junior Choir a long time ago. All right. Now we will have our spotlight video, Rotarians in Action. Todd Jacobs.
I think about the four-way test, and is it fair? Is it good for all? We'll build goodwill. Those are principles of the Rotary, obviously through the four-way test. But those align directly with the values of the Community Foundation. Our work in terms of, does it build hope and opportunity? Are we working in a collaborative nature? What's been helpful for me is how folks are very open to discussion and new ideas. I think so often with any of our work, we can get pretty focused on what's going on a daily basis at our respective offices or at our desks or who we happen to be talking to. And so by coming to Rotary and to meeting fellow Rotarians, it provides an opportunity to make sure that you are indeed hearing a broader voice and that it's a more inclusive voice. The intentionality around Rotary membership has been really intriguing to me to watch. How folks are actively sought to continue to add to the Rotary community here in Muskegon. I've been blessed to be a member of Rotaries in a couple of other communities, but I think the intentionality to make sure that we continue to grow Rotary membership in Muskegon County, to bring in new voices and perspective, but individuals that care about the community and want to engage the community, is really is more unique than what I've experienced in other communities. And I think that work will really help to bridge generations as folks become less able to be active, be developing these new leaders to step on in and to, sort of continue the great work that's been presented before them.
Thank you, Todd. If you have a brief Rotary Club announcement from a club committee, that includes Meredith, or event, please come forward at this time, keeping your remarks to under 2 minutes. I never did that, but hey. Just a couple of general announcements. The next scheduled Rewind meeting is Thursday, November 4th at 5:15 at the Core Plaza's Vault. A reminder, this is our last week for the year at the Lake House. Beginning next week, we are at the Delta. If you come here, enjoy your lunch, you're going to be by yourself. So join us downtown at the Delta. I'd like to recognize all those who have stepped up to volunteer in the past few weeks. We've had some photos in the room. We had a great montage today that Mike put together. Oh, come on, I gotta butter you up. Those that helped create the second microforest on Muskegon Lake Nature Preserve, including all of Susan Bestman's children. Those that distributed food at the Supper House, a food truck, and those all who volunteered and attended Harvest Fest. You all make Muskegon Rotary Club special, so thank you. And now we'll have some announcements.
Roger is much taller than I am. Today is your last opportunity to join in on our Brave Rotarian contest. And where in Muskegon County is Dave Alexander? He is obviously not in Muskegon County today, in spirit, I believe. But I need 8 more Brave Rotarians to come up with $100 and a chance to win a Paul Harris Fellow. It will go towards your required or strongly recommended donation to the Rotary Foundation that you should be committing every year. And second announcement is Mona Shores Interact Club hosted a trunk or treat for the community. They had over 25 businesses show up last night and served nearly 400 children. So just wanted to give a shout out to our Mona Shores Interact Club.
Hi, Nancy McCarthy here again. Just want you to know we had a great book discussion last night at MCC. We had 8 Rotarians, we had 4 honor students and 2 faculty members, and it was a really, really interesting discussion. And it's great to see these young people still involved in reading and literature and appreciating what literature can do for you. There's still some more events coming up. One is on the 5th at Mona Shores, at Norton Shores Library. I believe it's at 6, right, Sarah? 6 o'clock. There's going to be a panel from MCC, and they're going to be looking at the book from a variety of different discipline perspectives. So that should be a fun thing. And then the author, Lee Fanger, is also going to be here on the 14th, and that's an opportunity for you to hear him at the Muskegon Community College.
And good afternoon, Doug Wood from the Interact Committee. But what I would ask you to do, I was at the discussion last night, and I would ask you, before you leave tonight, say thank you to Nancy McCarthy for her leadership in these kind of things. She has gotten us involved into the community so many different ways, and we had a great time last night. So thank you, Nancy, for that. We have gathered together probably a dozen Rotarians who are interested in supporting our youth programs. We have Interact clubs, not just at Mona Shores, but 4 other schools as well. We have middle school Interact clubs, and we have 5 Early Act elementary school clubs. You've heard me say it before, but if you add up the numbers, we've got over 150 Rotarians that are 17 years old and younger. So we've got some folks that are interested in supporting that group. I appreciate their involvement. We're going to have our first meeting on November 20th at 1:30 following the lunch meeting, and we'll be across the street from the Delta in the chamber area, and Kathy Brubaker-Clark set that up for us. I really appreciate that, so thank you, Kathy.
Thank you all. Doug Wood wears lots of hats. What he didn't mention that he's also head of the orientation group, and he and Howard have got a big group coming next week for orientation, so looking forward to that. Raffle. Eric Seifert. Is Eric here, I hope? Here, all right. $402. Ah, see, Joel, it pays to come to Rotary. $597. Anybody? It's not mine. Oh, new rolls, new rolls. All right, 597, nobody? Okay, let's draw another one. Is this for 10? Oh. Oh, I'm closer. Oh, Mary is over there. All right. 397. Oh, she checked in guest today. She can win. Yeah. 597 will be next week's roll. So, yeah. All right, last one for $20, I believe. There we are. $428. Oh, one of our student guests. All right. All right, great. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. So our program next week, I promise Dave will be back. Our program next week will be connecting the community with water, ports, and parks, kind of similar to what we've been talking about today about connectivity. Again, we are meeting at the Delta next week. Closer to my office is perfect. I can walk across the street. So next Thursday, November 6th. And also remember, if you haven't voted already, we have an election coming up on Tuesday. So if you don't vote, you can't complain. So that's what my dad always told me. All right. Thanks to our meeting team and those at the Lake House for making our meetings so enjoyable these past months. We will be back at the Lake House in the spring. I may have mentioned we're at the Delta starting next week. And many thanks to those. I know Jay and Jules were helping out today with Mike, getting things set up for our meeting as we await Ed Hendrickson's return. Thank you very much for your help. We appreciate it. So if members and guests can now please rise while we recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned. Let's unite for good. We are adjourned.